captures on the live version.
Yep.
It's fun. It's fun. Fun stuff. So, okay, we're going to talk about personal branding today and just the power that you have in putting yourself out there in the community, in your work environment, within your family. Like, what do you want to be known for? This isn't working. I don't want to ground.
Do you want? I
That's
have
okay.
something for that.
Down here?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
So, knowing where you want to be in
Do you
your
wanna
personal
introduce-
brand, we
should
should
we
probably
introduce
introduce ourselves.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
why would...
Well, yeah. I'm sorry. I just get really excited. I'm like,
Yeah, she's like gung ho, just ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm Sherman. I work as a financial coach with Financial Design Group, and what I focus on is just working with individuals, businesses, helping them with their overall money needs. Right. So whether they want to save for the future, they want to be able to just save for that cabin or that house. That's kind of what I help them do for their financial future. On the business side, they're selling their business. They're looking to acquire another business. Sometimes those are things that I come in and help them consult with. And then so Carrie Ann and I, we just connected, and we get along real well. And so we're like, hey, let's hold ourselves out to the community and offer some value. So every Friday at over the noon hour, we do what we call question and answers with Carrie Ann and Sherman. So we'll talk about just basically business and sales and marketing ideas, about how to be able to improve yourself. And then we'll have a bit of an emphasis on leveraging social media. And so if that's kind of how I think Michelle heard about us or saw us. And so I'll let Carrie Ann introduce herself.
So I'm Carrie Ann Conity. I work with Shank SC in Wausau. We have 8 offices in the state. I am on the business optimization team. So I do business consulting, where I go into businesses, and if they need help with their HR, if they need help with developing a business strategy, if they are looking for growth, I help them facilitate that and then implement it. I also do recruiting and building teams, leadership trainings, and that sort of thing. So I'm on our business optimization team, which a lot of people don't know that Shank, being a professional services firm, not only do we do the accounting and tax and audit, but we have this whole other division that does all of these other business optimization pieces, which is fun. And so that's the team that I'm on. And I've been with Shank since December of 17. And Sherman and I are both ambassadors at the Wausau Region Chamber of Commerce, and really just like to collaborate. So that's where we come together, and we're talking about, we do a lot of talk about personal brand, utilizing social media on our Friday sessions that we stream live, but also, we're just looking forward to doing more presentations and teaching everyone what we know and what's worked for us, because it could absolutely work for you too.
So the big thing here is, I think sometimes people, they hear the word personal brand and like, that is not, I don't need to, not my deal, right? Like, I don't need to deal with that. I don't want to take photos of my food and post it on Facebook, or I don't want to go online all the time, and you don't need to. But if you think about what personal branding really is, it's your reputation. And before your reputation, how did you manage it? What do you guys think? Over your career, how do you manage your reputation?
Mostly face-to-face interactions.
Face-to-face. So unless you were like really outgoing, like, Carrie Ann and I, that like we're 100% extroverts. Like, there's not a networking event that we're not gonna try to get our face there. Unless you're that personality, you don't feel comfortable in that kind of space. And nor are you like the idea of going to a networking event for some people is like the equivalent of just going in and throwing up in the bathroom. I don't want to do it. I'm not gonna do it, sure. And I don't want to become you. Like, I don't want to be the crazy Asian. And so a lot of times the phrase that we use is just be unapologetically yourself. And so really never before in your career have you had the opportunity to control yourself, what's being said about you, right? Like, back in the day, just rewind 20 years ago, before really the internet just like blew up in front of our faces, you had to hire a PR company. They basically they're a dying business, or a marketing company, to be able to handle what you're going to say, right? If anyone remembers, Michael Jordan was like gambling one time before a final, and then they lost, and of course, that was a bad deal. And then he had to hire someone to basically answer questions, so that way he could focus on playing basketball. And so right now, you have the ability, because we have things like Instagram and Facebook, that we can actually talk about who we are. And so that's really what we're excited for you guys. West, number one, is, they're global, right? And so for some of you, you might say, hey, I want to be able to move myself within the organization. Some of you, to be honest, might be sitting here and going, I need to find something else. And that's fine, too. I think a company that decides to invest into you says quality about them. And so I think for you, the opportunity now is, how do I take control of that? So that's what we really wanted to talk about today. Personal branding sounds fancy. It's just controlling your reputation.
Right. And what you want to put out there. So when we think about a personal brand and what's important, how do you think, we talked about how do you think you're standing out, but what are some of the tools that you're using right now to help build your personal brand? Or are you not working on that as a goal at this time?
Communications in general with the people I work with professionally, whether it's correspondence by email or phone call, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay. And so when you're making a phone call, how are you, when you wake up each day and you're thinking, I want to be remembered today, what do I want to be known for? What type of feeling do you give when you're making a phone call?
Satisfaction, comfort, familiarity.
Satisfaction, comfort, familiarity. So people will know after speaking with you, they can rely on you, they can trust you. You are developing a relationship. That's a lot about what branding is all about, is creating really great relationships with the people that we work with the people that are in our community, to which they will then come to you as a resource. They'll rely on you. They will know that you are of value, that you can be of value to them. And so you want to be in charge of what your brand is and what that looks like. So you make that decision yourself. I want to be known for being kind. I want to be known for being outgoing and a self-starter and a team leader, a thought leader. Take some time and think about a strategy of your personal brand. Personal brand incorporates your characteristics, strengths, skills, and how people see you. All of these things, as you build it and as it grows and people start to know who you are, know what your brand is, know that they can rely on you, that will increase your growth within your career. And also, you think of personal brand, also within your families. You have a personal brand everywhere you go. You carry that everywhere you go.
And I think for a lot of people, they don't want to be taking photos of their food or being comfortable in front of a camera. So obviously, we are, right? But it took time, right? I remember it was October of 2016. If you research me before that, there's not a lot of presence of me. Even though I was on Twitter in 2006, I barely even tweeted. I just downloaded because I was like, oh, somebody else told me to. And so I didn't know what to do with that thing. And so I remember literally I was sitting on my couch and I was like, I was going to make some training videos for some of my new hires, right? Because there's this millennial era and I want to make sure that they can learn on their time. And so I was going to make some private YouTube videos for the sales team. And I remember just sitting there on the couch. It's like midnight. TV's rolling in the background. I'm not even watching. It's probably like The Office, maybe How I Met Your Mother. Just going on. And I sat there for no joke, 3 hours, debating whether I should make this video or not. And to give you an idea, I've been in this industry for over 13 years. 6 months in, I was training people. So no problems standing in front of a room, but for whatever reason, that rectangle was daunting to me. And so, so there's a little bit of a strategy. So I hacked my time. So I literally had a pile of shirts. So I'm going to change every video. I'm going to change a different shirt, to give you, the viewer, a different. And at the same time, it makes it look like I'm busting my hump. When in reality, it's just one day. And so finally, at 3 a.m, I decided to start cranking out these videos, and I didn't stop until 7 o'clock. And I'm 100% extrovert. I love being out there, love being the center of attention. It's not I not necessarily have to go for it. People just give it to me because I'm comfortable in it. And so that's where I'd say for a lot of you that you sit there and you see other people they're doing all this stuff. It doesn't need to be to that extreme, right? It doesn't. You don't have to go and run your own Fridays, at noon with Carrie Ann and Sherm. Though we'd totally welcome you if you want to come and join us.
You should join us.
It'd be a lot of fun. So this is where I think for a lot of people, how many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay. Yes. Okay. So this, like, the internet allows every introvert, like, you could be a literal hermit. And online, though, you're like the biggest extrovert in the world. Like, you are out there meeting people. So remember, all that the internet is, it's communication, right? You guys are on the phone constantly with people. You know that there is a little bit of a shift in regards to how people want to communicate with you. Hey, can I email you? Sure, you can, right? I mean, there's all these different ways that we can communicate. And so at this point, I would say all communication is good. The question is what are we doing with it? And so now you have the opportunity on your LinkedIn profile. A lot of times we give different tips, right? Get a professional photo. If it's black and white, if it's you back in the 1980s.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Next.
And yeah, I mean, so just to be able to make yourself look professional, and then that way, then it's the first. As dumb as we hate this, right? The first impression speaks volumes. It's just how it is, right? And I can't stop you from thinking what you're thinking about the first time you meet me. I can't. So if I can't control what you're thinking, then I can at least control what I'm doing. It doesn't mean you need to change your wardrobe, right? I know a ton of people that are just like my brother. I think he's got like one suit, maybe even not. But he's an industrial designer. So if he were to come to a meeting and we wearing a tie, they're like, "What are you doing, dude? You're not a designer. You're a weirdo," right? And so that's the creative space that he's in. And so for me, financial guy, like, I think I sit down with a lot of people, businesses or individuals, and I talk about your money. I don't think you want to see me wearing a pair of jorts and a t-shirt. Okay? Jorts, by the way, the reason why it's hot in my mind is because I saw someone doing a snowblower in jorts. That's it. It was awesome. Anyway.
Jean shorts.
It was awesome.
Was it John Cena?
No. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that photo. So that's where I'd start right now, right? Get a nice photo, put it on your LinkedIn, and then one of the cool things that LinkedIn was able to put on there is a headline. So now you can say, so for example, let's say I'm Michelle and we're going to move to Dallas, and I want to be able to get a job there. I can change my headline to driven marketing expert or specialist, whatever word you want to use, looking to get a position in Dallas. So I can already start kind of moving towards that. Plus, if let's say I talk to my supervisor here and I want their job, I can say, go-getter looking to get a managerial role. And so I can tell us, hey, that's what I'm looking to do. I want your job, and then if I can do really well, then you go to somebody else's job.
And you can make those fun too, right? Like show
Absolutely.
your personality. Mine says social media guru and talent extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm. And it's true.
And that's true. And it sounds great.
So to your point, yeah, doesn't need to be like really like boring jargon. It can be. I don't know if I put Crazy Asian on there. Crazy Asian is pretty much a kind of a synonymous word. Yeah, I use it all the time. It's kind of my tagline, I guess. So anyway, that's where that's where I'd start there. Profile, and then look at your headline for LinkedIn. We'll talk a little more some of the strategies you can use when it comes to posting and stuff like that. So
we'll talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't take control of if you don't take control of your personal brand, somebody else will. So if you're not putting yourself out there, people are just making assumptions about you or about what you do in your personal life or professional life. So, what you put out there should be true to you. And if you're a professional in your career, those things that are on social media carry with you for a long time. So be conscious of what you have on there, what you're sharing on there, what you want the world to know about you. So the online community is really growing. And Michelle, as you know, in our field in human resources, we utilize social media, LinkedIn, Facebook to really research, candidates, what they're up to, what their qualifications are. We're really using those as tools to get to know who we're looking at. So that information is widely accessible. So be mindful about what you're putting out there. And really your personal brand is your trademark. So you think about your trademark. What are some words that you think people would say about you? How would they describe you? Your friends, how would they describe knowing you?
Intelligent.
Nice.
Intelligent.
I like that one.
That's a great.
Reliable.
That's a great one.
Reliable.
Driven.
Innovative.
Innovative. That'd be a great headliner on your
Outgoing.
LinkedIn. Outgoing.
Mhm.
So
Adventurous.
these are, think
Adventurous,
about.
yes.
What was that?
Adventurous.
Adventurous. So, these are, think about the way people think about you, and is that acceptable? Is that what you want people to know about you? What else do you want them to know? And those are the types of things that you can cater your profiles to let your online community, viewers, followers, what have you, know more about you.
John, were you going to have a
Well,
comment?
yeah, no, I
question?
have a question about LinkedIn. I mean, I see sometimes from my email that I have been found in X number of searches. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Does that mean anything? Does that mean there's somebody kind of,
Yes.
I fit somebody's looking for a candidate or something?
Correct.
Is that
Yep.
what that-
So to kind of clarify that, so a lot of times there's a search functionality within LinkedIn that allows you either to search companies or to search individuals. And so based on the words that you're using to describe yourself, so think about LinkedIn really as a digital resume. Like I would have it read like in bullet point form of your accomplishments, what you've done here in increasing revenue, increasing customer satisfaction. Put those great deliverables that you've been able to accomplish. And so when people are looking for top talent, you're coming up. And so that's a great thing. So the more that you're being searchable, the better. So one of the things that I would say when it comes to your personal brand is, I would love, we would all love to have a corporation or an organization or even our career path to just be linear, right? Bust your hump, get the next promotion, bust your hump, get the next promotion, bust your hump, get the next promotion. Same with the same company, just dominate until you're CEO. It just doesn't work that way, right? At all. I was talking to someone yesterday, they're about to retire at 62, so she's done well, she's smart, but she went from like teaching to working at American Doll in Madison to working at a medical device company as a recruiter at American Doll, and then in medical device sales, and then went to the tech when she moved back here, taking care of mom and dad when they weren't doing well, and then now is at a recruiter for Connexus. So our path goes like all over different industries, but what doesn't change for you is your skill set. Right? So if you're outgoing, you're adventurous, you're intelligent, that can go any company, any industry, you're reliable. That is like the number one thing that people want in almost any candidate. Show up on time and show up every day. And so the beauty is when you think about your post. So I don't want you guys to hear this and be like, oh, now I got to go start a Facebook business page and got to go. You don't have to do that.
No.
However, as you look at anything that you decide to post out publicly, think of it like from the perspective of if I want to get to a certain role, right? I want a leadership opportunity. Then post about things about that because that's of interest to you. That's of interest to someone else that's looking. And so it's an opportunity for you to control a little bit of that career path. I was just talking to a buddy, he had an anniversary at a company, and I said, hey buddy, congratulations, 1 year anniversary. He goes, I don't know if you heard, our company got bought out from the other company, and they're shutting our office down. That sucks, right? Happy anniversary. And so now he had to be searching for a job. And so one of the things I find for a lot of people is that they don't like network online or face-to-face until they have to. I need a job, guys. And that desperation, it just stinks, right? It's like going to the bar, trying to pick up a chick, and everyone can kind of tell, right? You're just super desperate, right? It's not going to happen. And so that's a good correlation, right? Because you can see it, you know it, you laugh it. So, so that's where I think a lot of times we can control our career path. And so there's different automation tools that you can use, like Grapevine 6,
Clearview Social,
Hootsuite, Buffer, and they automate your posting.
and you can do it across platforms.
Yeah. So I'll take a Monday morning for like 45 minutes, and I will look at all these different articles. Grapevine 6 has 30 million. Yours has like the same amount.
Yeah.
Just millions and millions of articles that people are writing. And if you like it, then I just share it. And I just ask a question. What do you guys think? And so my little network of 1,000 people or whatever on LinkedIn, which isn't a lot, by the way, you probably got 1 million or whatever. So then I just ask a question. It's just keep that engagement, right? And then what I find for me is that engagement allows me to stay connected with people that care. Because think of it like a restaurant. Not everybody's going to like the same restaurant, right? I know there's probably somebody in here that doesn't like Mexican food. Is there anybody in here that will admit that you don't like Mexican food? Everyone's like, no. Okay, Sarah's going to admit that, okay? And so,
times I don't like Mexican.
yeah, so there's nothing wrong if I'm like, hey, Sarah, let's go to Trace Hermanos. She's like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that place. I'm not offended. Trace Hermanos is not offended that they're not in your palate choice. It's okay. So the same thing works here, is that you don't have to be everybody's go-to. But by being able to control what's being said, what you're talking about, what you're interested in, it could be the Packers, because that's a big deal in our state. You should be post about the Packers. We don't want to hear about Boston or New York.
Yeah,
We don't want to hear about that garbage. It will be the end. So,
also there's you're funny.
your interest, yeah. So you can post about your interest too. Totally fine.
But also there's different groups that you can join. So on LinkedIn, up in the corner, you can look at some different options and dig a little bit deeper into LinkedIn and see if you're in sales and you want to learn more tips and just what's going on in the sales environment, other people that do sales, like what are some of the things that they're doing, what are they up to, you can ask to join those groups, and you're leaving a larger digital footprint. You're engaging with people from all over the world who are doing the work that you're doing. You get to learn about their culture, and you get to learn about who they are and how they do it and how things work for them. So utilize those tools that are available to you. I mean, they're free. So why wouldn't you? And just reach out. And if you have questions about something in a particular industry, join the group, ask the question, throw it out there. You're leaving your footprint, you're creating engagement, and you're creating even more knowledge for yourself.
And so the other thing that we'll say is when it comes to your personal development, make sure that you're assertive. So it's okay to tell a coworker, a supervisor, I want a leadership opportunity. My dad had been working for this company, still is, for about 8 years, and told him, hey, just so you know, I'm open to international opportunities. Like, oh, we didn't know that. And he's like, but on my resume that I already lived in England for 3 years. He worked out there. But remember, nobody's reading your resume, especially once you get in the door. They're not going back and doing research on you because you already got yourself in. And so if you're not saying, hey, you know what, John's going to supervisor, I'd really like to get into the Amex space, right? I really want to be able to get into more of the financial side of things because that's something that's of interest to me. And so by you being able to say that, then they're aware that there's an opening. And for HR, right, it's a heck of a lot easier to move the talent that we have inside and promote you than it is to try to go find Carrie Ann and pay her a chunk of dough to leave her current space and to then take time to train her up. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to just let people know. So if you're not talking, if you don't have a good relationship with your supervisor, and maybe they're kind of a jag, because let's be honest, not everybody's nice, then I would definitely go to HR and tell them, if they're in charge of promotions, or I talk to, those that are in charge of performance reviews. Hey, just so you know, I'm looking for an opportunity. Or talk to the trainer and say, hey, these are the things that I'm looking to better myself. Are there certain things that I could be working on outside of the office or over break? And so by being able to be assertive and asking people for help on your career, you're going to be able to take yourself to where you want to go. And again, it doesn't have to go to that corner office. I have a buddy that's super excited. He works at Zingers and Flingers. So he's helping people shoot guns all day. Loves guns. You just got to find out what makes sense for you, and that's really kind of what it comes down to. So are we kind of time? Do we need to let you guys loose?
No, we started a little past. Is everybody okay?
Oh, okay.
Hang out?
Just want to be respectful of your time. So as she's scrolling through,
we've talked about some of this.
yeah. So the other thing that I would say is, don't feel like just because we're talking about LinkedIn that's the only space. So if you're somewhat okay talking to people, we love the chamber. So they have some business PMs. Wes is a member. They have some nothing about networking, and so they're great places. If you don't feel comfortable yourself, get a wingman, get a wingwoman, and go together. Right? feel free. You guys already know us. There's really good odds we're going to be there in a red jacket with a,
Right.
with a badge that has our name on it. And then feel free. And we can introduce you to different people so you feel comfortable. And so it's not necessarily always about being able to focus on the career. If you're passionate about, like, let's say helping JoJo's Jungle, they want to make a huge jungle in the community for people with special needs, children with special needs, you could find Pat, who runs JoJo's Jungle. And so there's huge opportunities for you to be able to get involved with different things. And so I like networking events. It's a ton of fun.
Where can they find them?
The Wausau Region Chamber of Commerce, just look up events.
And their Facebook too.
Yep,
Okay.
and they'll post it up there. At the same time, you had mentioned community. Are any of you involved or donate to any like local charities in town? Yep.
There's also Facebook Local
Yep.
that you can follow. Just download that one. It's an app where you can see. In Facebook Local will actually pull all the different community events that are in that particular area in which you are currently located. So, like this last weekend, I was in Minnesota, and my husband was looking at all the events taking place in that area over the weekend. So it's kind of neat. You can, not just in one place, but you can really explore and take yourself, your brand to new heights, new areas, and just really create a footprint, not only digitally, but on foot in your community. One thing I was going to mention too was being consistent with your personal branding. So to have others get to know you well and get to trust you and trust who you are, what your values are, what you stand for, what you're interested in, what your position is in the community, what you care about, how they can better relate to you. That posting and that sharing should be consistent, whether you're using Facebook or LinkedIn, and sharing different articles that pertain to what you're involved in your career or what you're interested in personally, but just being consistent. So let's talk about posting, what that looks like, and schedules.
Yeah. So a lot of times people get stuck on like having to create content, or I don't know what I would post about. So a lot of times on like any of these platforms, you might like what they wrote about, or that article that you just spent 5 minutes reading, and just share that, and then ask people, either write like your summary of it, or ask them questions. Hey, this is what I thought about the 5 habits of the most successful entrepreneurs. What do you guys think about that? And so by being able to just reshare or basically repurpose something else, you can not have to be feeling like you have to be creative and do your own post and edit a photo or take a selfie.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time you're doing all of that, you're positioning yourself as a thought leader. And that's really important. Someone who is taking the time to learn, to teach others, to make a positive impact.
And so as you think about personal branding, we talked about leveraging social media. It's global, right, in its reach. It's national in its reach. It's huge. It's wide. But at the same time, we talk about some networking events, and that's in our community. And then I think about right here. How many of you have a lunch break? And how many of you accidentally, unfortunately, probably have lunch with the exact same people over and over?
Myself.
Right? Yourself, right?
Depends if we go the same time.
Might be the same, right?
Okay.
So here, there's over 300 people the opportunity to connect with that all have siblings, have parents, have have friends and acquaintances that all have other careers. So being able to get the stories that exist within your own corporation is extremely powerful. There's 365 days. Well, actually, you don't work that many. It's about 220 days if you include holidays and stuff like that, Monday to Friday in a year. You could almost hit the entire population here. And so for me, if I was in an organization like this, I would reach out to every single human being here. And again, I'm 100% extrovert, right? So again, then dial it down to you, whatever that makes sense to you. I would want every single lunch with one of you to get to know your story. What are you doing? How do you do it? What got you where you are? Where do you want to go? Mm-hmm. I just want to know your story. For other people, they love reading books. For me, I love talking to people. And so that's a great opportunity for you to be able to just talk with other people. I think about other different department heads, right, that exist. and they don't know that you actually even exist, right? If you're on the Amex floor, you have no idea that Fuji even exists, right? John, probably they don't even know who you are, right? But there's a supervisor up there, right? And if they're aware that you have aspirations to get up there, you can talk to Michelle. You can also talk to the supervisor and say, hey, I want to grab lunch. How do I get to your place, right? At the same time, that's where I find a lot of people, if you look at why people leave companies, it's not because of pay. They make that as an excuse. It's not 100%. It's like an 80,
Pretty close.
70,
It's
whatever.
high.
It's 60 to 80%. Majority of the time, people leave because of their manager or their leadership.
Or they don't have the opportunity for growth.
And so they would, if they talked, when you're at a big company like West, once you get over 100 people, you have different departments. If you don't like your supervisor, then go talk to a supervisor that you could get along with, and let them know of your aspirations. And so I think a lot of times, if we are a little bit more assertive, we'll find ourselves enjoying work a heck of a lot more than dreading it because we have to talk to Sally, sour Sally, or talking to Tom. So.
Yeah. But you're in control of all of that. So you have that decision that you make every morning to get up and come to work and how you're going to handle your day and what you want to be remembered for. You want yourself and who you are to be memorable. That will better help your branding and your career overall.
All right. So if you feel free, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Vero, Musical.ly, Snapchat, podcast.
You're on podcast.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Sherman the Crazy Agent. We do some videos as well called Top of Mind, where we just interview some different businesses and employees in town. So if there's anything that we can do to help you guys, please let us know.
You can always reach out to me too for contact information.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions before we shut it down?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I've been with Wes over 6 years, but I'm getting to the point where I'm implementing my exit plan.
Okay.
I believe in serving others. Social media, I'm a little apprehensive about because there's 3 areas that I feel that I have real value. Political activism, my faith, and my other community is motorcycles. So I'm real involved with safety. So you put something out on LinkedIn, people see that part, I'm branding myself. Well, maybe they don't like some of my values. How do you filter that?
That's a great
Those are some loaded topics right there.
Those are
Political
loaded.
activism. So one of the things is, remember, you don't have to convince everybody.
And your
Right. So, for example, Scott Walker doesn't go to the Democrat convention because it wouldn't be an ideal spot for him. It wouldn't be safe either. And so think about it. So when it comes to your politics, you're not trying to convince everybody to have your views. You want to find the audience that agrees with you. Okay. So some people, right? So think about motorcycles, right? Because some people they're adamant about like how unsafe they are, right? But other people, especially in Wisconsin, we love them, don't we?
But perhaps there's a particular group in which you can have those conversations with, where they're mutually, they have that mutual interest, and I would stick to there.
Yes.
If you look at my link file and see my friends or whatever you call them,
Sure.
80% are motorcycle related.
Okay.
So that's to that point. So even on LinkedIn, on Facebook, there's specific groups, and that's a great place to be able to have your voice be heard in the right community without feeling like you're going to alienate the other percentage that just don't want to hear about that.
Right.
So good, really good. Yeah.
I've always kind of separated Facebook as a personal thing and then LinkedIn as a professional thing. Is there value in trying to bring it all together? I mean, I could see why social media for HR, the people oriented stuff, that's great. But then I feel like LinkedIn might be more suited for that distinction there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, really good point. So a lot of times you're seeing a definite time in history where there's actually a blending of lines between personal. So think about this: how many of you have a friend that drives Uber or Lyft on the weekend? So you do it.
Yes.
Okay. So and you raise your hand as well. So the interesting thing about it is that all of a sudden he's got this full-time career, but then you have this, let's just call it a side hustle, right? This side job. And so that's totally appropriate. So that's where you say, okay, I have this LinkedIn that's all about, West and crushing it, but then my Facebook page, I'm going to talk about like driving people. I was like driving drunks, but driving people on the weekend in Uber, right? So it reminds me of like Confessions of a Taxi Cab.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You could totally like set that up. Anyway, you should do it. So that's where I think that's where you can start using that personal brand and start sharing that, because no one really wants to see your food, but we don't mind seeing you cook it. We don't want to see you driving your car, but we'd love to see you drive Uber. Right, like there's certain things that we enjoy watching from people, because I don't drive Uber, but it'd be kind of cool to see who you're picking up on the 400 block at 12 o'clock at night on Friday. You know what I'm saying? From the Spokeasy.
Yeah.
Because they can't do this anymore. We've all seen it. So good question.
Or we will.
How do you keep from going from, or how do you make a distinction between authenticity and being a cliche? So when you are sharing things, it can tend to almost stray into that cliche area, and you don't want to be that. You want to be authentic. Like how do you make that?
Yeah. So how do you be unapologetically you?
Just be true to yourself. I mean, if it's something that you are passionate about, that you can relate to personally, that it's a story where it hits home to you. You can't lose.
And so I think sometimes we think about like the authenticity of like the guy that's like sitting next to a Beamer and it's not his, or sitting next to a Lamborghini that he just saw in the parking lot. It's like, hey, look at this car. That has this feeling of just fakeness, right? And so the reality of that is that you're connected to all these people that know, right? So you're connected to Michelle and John, and guess what? They know that if you took a photo in a Lambo, we don't know it's not yours. You know what I mean?
I actually have one. That's what I Uber in.
Yeah, right.
That's what he Ubers one person at a time.
Yeah.
So that's where I think you can avoid that not feeling like you're unauthentic. I think the other thing that people that they need to be okay with, which is very difficult, is being okay with like their flaws. It's totally okay to be, balding, or I got lazy eye and I'm not as fit as I want to be, right? I want to lose 20 pounds to look good. I'm not where I want to be career-wise. I thought I'd be more successful. I thought I'd be running a business. And, the reality is that our lives are filled with flaws, are filled with failure, are filled with mistakes and missteps and stupid decisions. And that's totally okay. And it reminds me of like a lot of comedians. The moment that you steer into it, then it makes it okay, right? So if I tell people, like I'll often tell them, I got lazy eye. So there's really good eyes. Just look at this one. Don't look at this one. It's all over the place. And so by being able to just like say that out there, put it out there, the people are like, oh, okay, that's like he's authentic.
Your flaws connect you to people. Like,
He's a comedian on the weekend.
Okay.
Your flaws connect you to people. Like something that somebody else going through today is shame to talk about. You talk about it on stage. It just
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then so for the cliche piece, I'd say that to a certain extent, we all struggle through the same thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Pursuit of Happiness. Chris Gardner, amazing human being. He's actually from Milwaukee. But anyway, so one thing that he was saying was that when he finally like admitted and was just comfortable with that he was homeless with people, even though his net worth at that point was like $60 million. The moment that he was comfortable with sharing that with people, it seemed like that story resonated with other people, even though it had nothing to do with them, right? So he was saying that people would come and be like, yeah, like I've been struggling with my own health issues. And it has nothing to do with him, being homeless or being financially destitute, but that idea of having a struggle that's so overwhelming that you can't see a light at the end of the tunnel is empowering. And so that's where I'd say, from the cliche perspective, is whatever you might be going through over that the things that you might want to share about your life, other people are going to find it interesting because they don't go through it. I think about like ice fishing. Nobody does that outside of like the crazy states up here in the north part of the United States. Everybody else south is like, I don't know, does it really even get that cold? It's like it's unfathomable for someone in Arizona to imagine that a lake could actually freeze over to that length. But it does every year.
And I'd say set fear and apprehension aside, and just really be true to you. That's what people want to. People want to know who you are. So that's what helped me. I mean, I was always afraid of video too until I started doing more of it. So it's like once you have some gradual exposure to something new, you become more familiar with it. It's more accepting. You just learn how to work with it instead of against it and be afraid of it. Set the fear aside and just give it a try. These tools that are available in today's environment are so crucial and helpful to our branding and what we're putting out there on all of our platforms. Email, as far as communication, is certainly still widely used, but a lot of people are doing their communications using multiple platforms, well beyond email.
Yeah, even your signature in your email is a way to personally brand yourself.
Right. So
Reliable.
Putting a personal tagline on your signature, creating a direct link to your LinkedIn profile. So those clients that you're working with, those customers, if they want to know more about you and what you're doing and what your team is up to, or who they're talking to on a routine basis, put that LinkedIn profile at the bottom of your signature page and let them find you, come to you, and get to know more about you, what you look like, to put a face to the name.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, Carrie Ann, and Sherman, you can probably answer this a little bit as well, but so I understand you were in HR as a recruitment. What stands out for you the most when you are looking at LinkedIn profiles and looking at branding, and what really pulls your interest into that for a candidate or in general?
I notice whether the profiles are of like an all-star status or not. So what are the elements of the profile that are completed?
Okay.
Is it a full profile? Are there things missing? Is there a good headshot photo? I have had some really interesting photos that I've looked at in the past. Like, don't include somebody else in your photo. Because, right, that's weird.
Or your dog.
It's like, or your dog. Those things are appropriate for Facebook, but let's think of, your professional resume. What are those things that should be on there? And include them. Your accomplishments, whether you've achieved an award in, your career timeline. List those on there. Your community involvement. Your personal interests, there's a section for that. Maybe you can connect with other people that they too like downhill skiing or, judo, whatever. But, those are some things that help you connect to people. But give a little bit of your personality on there. With that headline, it's a real catch. You can be a real catch with all of that information and building that solid profile for yourself at all-star status. So when you log into your LinkedIn profile, it will tell you where you're at. It'll say what level of your profile, is, whether it's close to, it'll say
percentage, right?
Percentage,
yeah.
To completion. But get that 100% completed. I have a resource tool that I can share with you that we use, that I share. If you're not sure if you're at that all-star status on your profile, I have a guideline that I can certainly send to Michelle. She can share that with you to ensure that you get to that all-star status. Once you reach all-star status, you become more visible in that platform, in the LinkedIn platform, whether it be a search, whether it be different groups that may, with those keywords in your profile, attract you to want to join. They'll all of a sudden appear, and you'll see more things that are customized to you and what you do in your role and the things you like. So I will share that with Michelle.
Awesome. I have a question too. So I created my LinkedIn, freshman year of college or whatever it was when you were required to. So a lot of stuff that I have on my activity section is still from high school. Do you think I should go in and clean that out and make it, a lot of it's like varsity cheerleading, like things like that. Do you think that should be removed as an adult? I've never touched it. I just left it there.
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Do you trust
Unless you want to be known as a
cheerleader.
Varsity cheerleader 26.
Yeah. You still got it.
I know.
It's a glory days,
Yearbook,
okay?
like yearbook committee. Newspaper? Do I remove all of that?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
I look so much cooler though.
You're so cool, Michelle.
I'm so cool.
Yeah. Put all the cool stuff you're doing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
You do.
How far out in do you look for information then? I mean, I guess if we're gonna put things out there, are we looking in the most recent 2 to 3 years, or can we go all the way out to maybe 5, 6 years, depending on how?
It's easy to do 10. 10
Yep.
10's a very common thing that we know within the last decade. That's probably still relevant value, right? So somebody that's like, hey, 20 years ago I worked as as a machinist or a forklift driver. Not a lot of value 20 years later, right? Forklifts, they run on gas now. Yeah.
But people are interested in seeing your progression. Where has life taken you? You've worked for this company for 5 years and this company for 8 years. What is it about? What do you know? What does that individual know? What type of, assets in their brain, like their knowledge, what type of skill set do they have that's been carried, over into their position that they're in now? So the experience is so profound, and when we're looking at who you are and what you know and your skill set, just that experience and that history is really key to just getting to know more about you and what you could do, so keep that in mind. But yeah, those things I'd probably take off and just focus on
Glory days.
You can hide it though,
those
right?
glory
So you
days,
can see
yeah.
if you want to look at back.
Right.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you not be able to see like my profile if I have it set private anyways though? Like you're talking about going 10 years
Are
back
you
for people.
referring to
Like,
Facebook?
Facebook or LinkedIn? Which one?
Facebook, I guess. I mean, LinkedIn's different because I choose.
You can
exactly
be private on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Well,
Facebook,
no, I mean,
Facebook
like-
leave the varsity cheer.
Well,
Yeah.
It's a good look.
So
Yeah.
never mind. Yeah.
Well, are you talking about LinkedIn specifically?
No, Facebook, really.
Oh,
I don't want
Facebook.
really anyone
Okay.
out, especially not professionally, to necessarily see my Facebook. Just
Sure.
varsity cheerleading. I mean, I could curate it and but I just don't think
Yeah.
generally. I don't see why public people would need to or be able to see my profile.
Yeah.
I-
And that's
That's just the way it is right now.
completely
I
up
can
to
change
you.
that, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I personally, I do a lot of crossovers, so I don't share anything on Facebook that I would be
Well, right. Yeah.
ashamed that anyone
Right.
would see or know about me.
Right. But if you think it's helpful to have a public profile, then recruiters like you can see people you feel.
Well, there's things on
gain-
Facebook that you can make private and you can
Well, yeah.
make public.
Right.
So you can change those settings.
Sure.
But,
But
if
as
you're,
a recruiter, you are looking at people's
but we look.
Facebooks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's more or less we're looking for problems, right? Like, on the weekend, man, I can't wait for the weekend. I hate where I'm working, right? That's not a good thing, right? You're bashing publicly, even though it's just to your friends. You're bashing where you're working. That's not. That doesn't excite me as a potential candidate. Someone that is too one wing or the other might not necessarily be a good fit if that's kind of where they're always. If that's where their passion is, their passion is. And I work in a nonprofit, right? That's trying to get money from everybody. If you're holding yourself out to just one area of politics, that's a problem because money's green, and I need it from everybody. I don't care what color you are. And so, or what your political affiliations is. So you have to kind of be aware of that a little bit. But if you just want to keep everything private, then your posts, I would just, like any work accomplishments, that's what I would make public.
That's what I make
well,
public.
sure. Gotcha.
Boom.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing. Facebook allows you a lot of flexibility to really maneuver that privacy dial up and down. Where LinkedIn, you're right. I mean, it's basically this, and it's meant to be a public thing.
Right.
You can hide that. You can hide the functionality when you decide to creep on other people. I don't know if that's. I think it's good for some recruiters because they want people to think that get this idea that they're going to be hired by another company. Other ones, people use it just as a stalking mechanism on X's, which again not useful. Definitely a waste of time. So that can be like a black hole. And I want to see if they're unemployed yet. So, any other questions? Yeah, Dan the man. Dan the man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In some cases, especially conducting like new hire orientation, we go over things like social media policies and things of that nature. And I always get like I have a third eye or like I got three heads or something because when I go over it, I mention that I don't have a Facebook.
Yeah.
And people look at me like there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Any way to answer other than I just don't like it?
No, you can answer that however you want. That's your choice.
There we go.
It's completely your choice. And my husband's not a big Facebook user himself. He likes to just follow his hunting,
And Sherman the Crazy Asian.
And Sherman, of course, yes.
There
But
we go.
he just likes to follow the things that are really of interest to him, and he's just not interested in all the other,
Nonsense.
BS that may be out
Malarkey.
there or whatever,
Yeah.
the malarkey.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But you have a LinkedIn, and that's
Right.
absolutely plenty for for
Yes.
branding for your career. That's what's up. That's your choice, and I think that if you feel good in that choice and where you want to be, then rock on with that.
And I know there's a lot of other individuals. I think it's kind of a thing that like we do is if you're not okay with showing your public information, that like some of the recruiters have just like a Facebook page that's just like professional. So I've also told people that if they don't have a Facebook too, and we're in the same little group of friends, that they could do that.
Yeah.
So
That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think there's anything wrong career-wise with not being on certain platforms. LinkedIn, though, I would say just because of the professionalism of it, and a lot of recruiters, a lot of companies are putting job openings there. They're making it easier to apply through your profile on LinkedIn. I'd say that could be a deterrent for some people finding out some businesses, right? There's a lot of local businesses in town that people aren't even aware of.
Right.
Sometimes we mentioned like Wausau Supply, that 400 employees. A lot of people don't even know they even exist in Weston, Wisconsin, or Wausau Windows and Walls. Yeah. Or just Zone Garage, right? They just started out. So a lot of times people don't know about these businesses unless you're on LinkedIn. Because they're not being reported about, they're not making millions upon millions of dollars, and they're not hiring tens of thousands of people.
And they're not in the headlines all the time.
Yep.
So the way to learn about others in the community really is to look up their business page, or there's someone from their business on their from their organization, and then leaving your digital footprint, like asking a question, and just getting yourself out there and known.
Good. Anything else, everybody? Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Great. So we have some giveaways, right?
We do.
How are we going to give them away?
Yeah, I don't know.
We should just give out numbers. How many people are here? 2,
Yeah.
4, 6, 8. 8 people.
Okay.
So
So
1 to 8. Everyone's, we just write down numbers, huh?
we don't have 8. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So then 2, 4, 5. 5 people will get something. 3 of you won't. Who likes to read an actual physical
You get
book?
this award
Oh.
for this.
You actually like to read a physical book?
For the questions.
So why don't I do this?
We'll get a
I'll give
picture
this
of you
to
with the
Sarah,
award.
Sure.
and then when you're done with it, you can share it with Alex.
I can do that.
How's that sound?
Cool.
Awesome. Because not everybody loves to read physical books.
Huh?
I'm going to sign it for you because that's kind of cool. Enjoy.
Yeah. What? Oh.
It said enjoy. You can sign your name.
Uh-huh.
That way she knows it came from Carrie Ann and Sherman.
Right?
You guys are like Kelly and Michael.
This is like-
Yeah.
That's fun.
Sure.
Okay.
Where's this Friday thing?
Oh, we host it all over the place.
Yeah, different places.
So this Friday we're talking about. I was actually reaching out to Marathon Endurance to see if we can hold it there. It's like a shoe running place, so it'd be kind of cool to just talk about.
Where can they watch it?
On Facebook and on Instagram, we run it through that.
You search Sherman.
Yep, Sherman On.
Yeah. It's on both of ours.
Asian.
Both of our pages.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll just pass them. We're just gonna pass them out. It's lucky winners.
Just random giveaway.
Random giveaway.
Is that you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right.
She put it in between the two of you.
I was gonna say.
I'll take the
Random.
bottom half.
All right.
I wish I would have known how many we
I
have.
Sorry,
have
yeah.
enough coffee cups to last me a lifetime.
Yeah,
Thanks,
right.
Chad.
Yeah.
I'm actually
Oh,
downsizing,
you
so
know what,
I'm
kind of-
in the process of getting rid of a 16th of everything I own every month.
You guys all kind of got something.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Here,
So this
pass this on, pass this on.
You know what?
I was just saying,
I
downsizing.
am not a coffee drinker.
Oh, you're not?
See?
I know.
Here we go.
See, no Facebook, no coffee.
It's all gonna
It's fine. Coffee's disgusting.
It's bad for.
You want to need a lunch break?
You got the bag?
You want to need a lunch break?
I don't think there's real value in coffee except caffeine. All
Who's got?
Taking the
right, everybody, thanks for coming on.
Well, then it's
Peace.
Cindy.
How many comments you